Hey guys, Sel from Sel Joy here, and I am just checking back in with the community. It's been a few weeks. In the month of July, celebrated my birthday, coming up on an anniversary week. And what have I been up to? I've been making some tracks for clients, for myself also, working on Logic Pro for the iPad Pro. So it's been at the core of my production. I've been using it as my primary device and putting it through its paces and seeing what I can pull out of it. And one of the churchy tunes I've been working on is an adaptation of a little hymn that's playing in the background. And I want to take you through the session. So I'm going to transfer the screen over to my iPad. You can see what I'm looking at. And using my Apple Pencil, just take you through just a few of the plugins that I've been using here. All right, so as you can see, I'm dialing in a very soulful feel for this track. And I've got about 11 tracks going on here. Actually, if I were to expand that, it's about 14, 15 tracks here. All right, so my main starting point for this particular track was a drum loop. And it's brought to us by gospel musicians. It is called the Splat-to-Clat plugin. And this is an amazing plugin. Let's just expand that so we can see how this particular plugin works. So this has a number of pads that you can assign different samples to. You can load up some presets that are in here, and we've got factory chops, we've got volumes and volumes and volumes of different tracks here. All that have some amazing urban sounding drums that have been cut, sliced, chopped, and just really sampled to perfection. So we've got factory kits for different urban genres, from hip hop to trap, R&B, neo soul, chill pop, all of that, as well as factory loops that you can get in here and do your own chopping. Each one of these has some envelopes and different parameters that you can set for each sample, where you can adjust the attack, the hold, decay, the sustain and release. And whether you're dealing with drums or whether you're dealing with tonal samples, it gives you so many different options and layers. So right now, this particular one has a layer, but we can add more sounds to it. I just love how deep this sampler can go. And again, it's built off of something that is as familiar to us as the MPC, yet giving us even more control. So under each pad, you also have effects that you can load. And you can go in here and load choruses, delays, flangers, wah effects on your drums. It's almost infinite what you can do with your drum samples. And I pretty much didn't do a whole lot of changing with this particular drum loop that I'm working with, because I just felt like the samples just fit exactly where I wanted to go. So that's Splat-to-Clat. It's definitely something I recommend downloading if you are into urban sounding drums, urban sounding samples, where you want to get into some of the older genres or even some of the new stuff that's going on. And I also loaded a tambourine sample from there. Not only does this give you set presets to where you can load up what Gospel Musicians has given you, but you can load your own samples in there And you can also create a master template and pick from any of the samples that they have already in their library. So as you can see, I've assigned a shaker, tambourine, and a snap on those 3 pads at the top. I'm gonna go ahead and assign another one. Let's say I wanna add a conga to this, and so that I can pull up some more options here. Let's go ahead and assign a conga. All right, good. There we go. All right, so making sure my track is armed, let's go back in and let us listen to these samples that are here. As you can see, I have pan control. Can send it over to the right, can send it over to the left. I also have volume control here. And I can, again, go in here and mess with some of the parameters, control for it. You can tune this down. So make sure that it's hitting just at the right pitch for you. You can detune the samples. There's so much you can do here. But this allows you to really load your own samples and go to town. Or play with a lot of the samples and chops that are already in the Splat-to-Clat library. Love this plugin and how it makes sequencing in Logic that much easier. So I'm used to, in the old days when I first started working in the studio, I was working on an MPC 2000 XL, and I would be working in 8 bars or 16 bar increments, and then kind of chaining up those tracks of MIDI into songs. And I would go into song mode and then chain them up, and that's how I would sequence. When I started working on DAWs like Pro Tools and Logic, it was more of a linear view where I would be just tracking from start to end. And then I learned how to kind of make those two worlds merge. A lot of beat makers will work within the confines of 8 bars here, 16 bars there, or whatever the situation may be, kind of working in context and doing a lot of cutting and pasting. As a musician, I try to focus on being diverse with how I express certain sections of the song. So maybe not too many sections are exactly the same. So it feels a little bit more real, a little bit more organic. But with Logic, you get to, you can set your parameters for where you want your loop points to be. You can sequence from right here to here. You can cut and paste and, do what you need to do, as I did a few times. You can see some of the regions here that I'm selecting. Some of these are cut and paste. So you can absolutely work that way while also having access to the full linear setup of your song. Now my Rhodes, I'm using another great plugin from Gospel Musicians, and this allows you to bring up some really classic sounding Rhodes, some great elements from the Mark II. I'll let you hear some of it as we're playing this. You've got the Mark II, you got the Mark III. I'm pulled up a nice Dilla stage, called the Dilla stage, and dialed in some of the release. Let's bring that up for you guys so you guys can hear. Okay, I can also bring up my effects on here. I can increase the effects of the panning, the speed of the panning. Let's bring this all the way up. I've got some nice chorus on it to kind of warm up the sound. And then a chorus widener, which does this really crazy thing with, it's like adding a slight detuning effect on the chorus on the Rhodes itself. Makes it feel a lot more analog. And then you got your reverb controls. Now look, I've got a whole nother second slot that I can bring plugins into. which is another chorus patch that I have here just underneath. So these would be my stomp pedals. I know a lot of Rhodes players like stomp pedals. These would be my stomp pedals. Allow me to bring a lot of those vintage sounding effects into the performance. So here it is. This is a great way to really bring up some really nice, homey sounding Rhodes. And it's sitting right in the middle of the track, kind of gluing it all together. And there's a couple other things I want to show you in here. Let's come out of this plug-in view. I've got a nice clav going on in the mix. Let's go ahead and bring that up for you. I call it a dark clav. I have a dark clav and also a bright clav. All right, so let's solo these two. Let's see what's going on here. All right, so my first dark clav. All right, so this one is a hollow clav. I've really decreased the depth here. I've lowered the position here. This is MIDI'd all the way to my expression, my EV5 expression pedal. So if I was to open that up, you would see that move. But right now I have that position closed on the wah pedal. And this particular effect is also an auto wah. So as I'm pressing harder, that envelope opens just a little bit. As you can hear. So it's a layer underneath the Rhodes. Now let's go over to that brighter, more brash, harsher sounding clav, where you'll see some of the positioning is a little bit different. See, the depth is wide open here on this one. The range is wide open right there, so I can get more of the brighter tones out of the wah pedal. There's also a phaser on there. Again, the position is closed because I don't want it too bright, but just enough distortion on it. You can certainly, just go to town. I added that distortion plug-in right here in the third slot down here, just to give it that dirty sound. And again, this is stuff that you would have to pay hundreds of dollars just to get the stomp pedals you want. My favorite, I think, in this track would be this Hammond organ by IK Multimedia. And this is a fantastic plugin. When I tell you, I've been playing organ for years, since I was a teenager, and I played C3s, B3s, A100s. Oh man, so many different models, B2s, and they all have a unique trait to them. And I love the way this particular plugin just dials in the dirt. It dials in a lot of the rich church tones that we are so used to hearing. Let me play some of this for you so that you can listen to it. And again, you can see as I recorded my mapped fader movements were also recorded. Now I got to tell you, I have two keyboards, two 49 key controllers with the 9 faders that I stacked up in a 2-tier with my EV5 expression keyboard. Each one of them mapped to different MIDI channels here. So if I was to go into the plugin and look at the setup, I'm going to hit the gear wheel to get to that. And as you can see, the upper manual tracks, which would be the top tier, the drawbars on the left-hand side, that's MIDI channel 1, and my lower one for the drawbars on the right-hand side, that's actually mapped to MIDI channel 2. So as I move faders, if I move faders on the top row, on the bottom row, you can see I'm doing this on the keyboard and it's happening live. So the cool thing I like with Logic, or this version of Logic, in the desktop version, I would have had to turn on the automation feature for touch in order for it to record it and keep it. Here in the iPad, it just records everything for me, memorizes my positions, and goes right back to it as soon as I start the track again. So again, you see, everything is moving from my expression pedal my Leslie brake movement, my Leslie movement, and I play 2 tiers at the same time. All right, so now there's a little reverb happening on that track, and I can tell you that is not a Logic reverb. That is the spring reverb right from this amp. I'm trying to tell you, this particular plugin has the classic reverbs already loaded in there, the classic effects. There are a couple stomp pedals that are in here. We've got a chorus on there. If you want to put that old classic analog sounding chorus on your organ, the spring reverb, the EQ, if you want to get more bass out of your organ to make it more thumpy, you can map a third channel to the same plugin on the same channel strip if you have MIDI pedals, and you will have a fully functional B3 organ that you can load in Logic. You can load it in AUM for live performance. You can do whatever you want. This plugin is the truth. I absolutely will put it up against a lot of hardware organs that are out there right now. This Hammond B-3X plugin that just went on sale with IK Media at the date of this taping of this recording. They just took a huge chunk off of it. Head over to ikmultimedia.com. They're not paying me to do this. They didn't ask me to do this. But if I'm using something and I really, really believe in it, you're going to know about it. And I really do love this plugin. And I'm using it in this particular song as a really strong center of the melody for this song. Here, and I've also loaded up a Moog, the Moog lead, synth lead. So I definitely wanted to go very analog sounding and old school with this particular track. And again, Moog Model D. The Model D emulation that is straight from Moog. So they're putting their stamp on it, saying, how good is this as an emulation? Well, this is their app for the iPad app, for the iPad, and I absolutely love it. I love it. From the parameters for the LFOs, just to be able to adjust all of these oscillators here on screen, make the tweaks. I love how it differs in sound from a lot of the other synths that are on this platform. This one, they made sure they just didn't just give you some corny sounding FM synthesis. This thing sounds rich. It sounds bright. It cuts through the mix. Now, how close is it to the original? I'm about to do a test. Here on this channel, I'm going to do a test with a buddy of mine who's got one, and we're going to do some A and B. Here's the thing with A and Bs that I would say is a caveat for me. It's not whether or not one sounds better. It's more about what does it contribute to your song. Because let's say you had the original outboard gear, but it's not necessarily jiving with your song. What would you have to do? What other mix techniques would you have to employ to get it to sit in the mix of your song a little bit better? Now, some of the analog gear, you may argue, hey, you don't got to do much, it's just right there. I agree with you. However, if a plugin or a sound sits with your song, who cares if it costs 20 bucks or if it costs you $2,000? So we're now at the age where the classic outboard gear should be respected for what it offers. The classic synthesizers that are out there should be respected for what they offer. The plugin community is simply seeking to pay homage to that and open access to it at a much lower price point. But a lot of these developers are doing the good, hard work of making sure we have great samples to work with. And then Apple just came with this particular setup to allow us to record on a device as small, as thin, as portable, and as fun as the iPad. Now, as I started this video, I said to you, this has been the core of my production, not a little chicken wing on the side, not a little sidekick. I am putting this through its paces to see what I can get out of this platform, working solely on here as much as I can. Now, of course, I have my desktop behind me. I can always transfer the session over there, bounce some things down if I don't have the exact same set of plugins, bounce things down to audio. I could finish up over there if I want to, but I'm really enjoying being able to mix right here. My mix window, I think, is my favorite window to be in here. I just love being able to tweak my settings right here on the fly. And using either my finger or this pencil, it's so much different than having to drag a mouse and having to flick through or drag and hold, or if you're on a trackpad, trying to get that parameter just right. Being able to reach out and touch it, I'm telling you, it has its advantages. And of course, this can go with me everywhere. Just disconnect my the USB-C AV plugin, and I could take the same mix with me wherever I go, plug up to any audio interface, do some more recording. My studio literally goes with me. So it makes you think, you know, workspace. What is workspace anymore? That concept is changing, and the freedom that this device gives you, it cannot be understated. Now, some people have said to me in the comments, you know, Logic Pro for the iPad, it's just another souped up GarageBand. I hear you on that, and I would say it's a lot more than GarageBand. I've used both of them, and I would say that it is substantially more than GarageBand, and it's also in its first version. It's in its first iteration. So we have several different versions to experience, and it's only gonna get better. It's only gonna get better. As someone who does this for a living, I'm never gonna beat my chest and say, oh yeah, I'm a pro. I'm gonna say, as someone that does this for a living, on the contracted work and been doing that for over 15 years, I am pressed to find too many limits to what this can do. Are there some features missing? Yes. Are they on the way? I pray they really are, because they're already off to a great start. So before you let somebody tell you, oh, this is not for you, this is not pro, or this is not this is not that, jump in, dive in, see what all the hype is about. You can do some great sounding tracks just utilizing what's right here. I mean, this track doesn't sound too shabby at all. That bass, that's stock. That's Logic sampler bass. So deep, so round. With all of the bass parameters I can pull up in there. Yep. Yeah, so listen, I encourage you guys, if you're a musician and you have an iPad and you know that it's costing you a lot of money with some other subscriptions to plugins and packages and this and that, or your favorite plugin costs between $300 and $500, let me tell you, instead of spending $200 or $300, how about spending $19 or $20? The price point cannot be understated. It's so much cheaper to get into some of these great sounding plugins. And the developers are committed to doing this because they understand a wider market can enjoy what they have to offer. So I've had guys come up to me and say, hey, how much should I spend on a new Mac or on a used Mac? And I would say to them, hey, I love the Mac platform. I've been using it for years, but don't shoot down the iPad. I mean, the M1 chip or M2 chip, whatever version of that you can get between the last 2 years model or this latest model, you can get a lot of stuff done. Some of the editing features, pro features that you may miss on one platform, there are ways to get around that. And of course, more features are coming. This is not a slouch app. This is not a slouch app. Now, everyone creates differently. If you are a musician that depends on plugins that generate a lot of stuff for you, there may be a little bit of stuff that you're missing on this side of the music creation platform. But if you're a musician, you know what you're doing, or at least you know how to arrange a song, put your ideas down, you know what you want to hear, you can get in here and find a wide palette of things to work with on the iOS platform. Much of it is already in Logic, but of course you got a whole app store that's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So listen, guys, don't let anybody tell you it's not pro. The pro is you. You are the pro. You're the one that is expressing your particular ideas and your musicianship, all of that, your creativity, it comes from you. And of course, this is not going to hold you back, but make you just think, hey, what else could I do with this? And of course, the whole discussion of workspace and what that means anymore. You could spend thousands of dollars on a desk, or you could take your desk with you wherever you are. The concept of workspace is changing, folks. This just opens it up even more for those who don't necessarily want to be tied down to one spot or to one setup in their room. So give this platform a try. Thank you for continuing to be patient while I've been working on some tracks with some clients and celebrating my birthday and about to celebrate my wedding anniversary later on this month. So I appreciate you guys. Check out my other videos. I'll have a few linked in the description for you in terms of how viable is the iOS platform for music creation on the iPad platform, Logic Pro on the iPad platform. How viable is it? How far can you go? How good can you sound? Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. How good can you sound? Give it a try and jump in for yourself. Definitely do the trial. For me, because I make money off of this, I went ahead and did the annual subscription. I know I'll make my money back several times over because this is what I do. But if you're just trying this out for the first time, by all means do the trial and play with it, record some ideas, and go through the tutorials. Watch some more of my videos just to see what's possible on this platform. You will not regret it. Take care. See you guys soon.